Welcome to Marketing with Confidence. I'm your host, Marianne Amies. We're going to be talking all things digital and online marketing for business owners and marketing professionals. If you've been feeling overwhelmed by your digital marketing, be sure to listen along and you'll hear tips, interviews and more that will give you the confidence to create marketing you love. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing with Confidence. I'm so excited to be joined today by Cat Dunn, and we're going to be talking about streamlining your system's spine. Thanks for joining me, Cat.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Bit of a mouthful, but I'm a systems and processes kind of gal, so I always love these sorts of discussions. Could you tell us all about yourself? I guess I'd love to hear about you and how you became so passionate about systems and processes.
So I'm originally from England, as you can tell by my accent, and I've been in this beautiful country of Australia since 2019. And I'm very lucky that I get to stay because I just absolutely love everything about this country. And I do genuinely believe that I would only have a business in Australia. Yeah. I don't believe this would work for me in the UK. So I'm very privileged to do that. So in my background, like many, I spent a long time in corporate. And in corporate, a lot of us work our way up and we do loads of different types of jobs. Now, I trained as a performer at uni. I sang and I danced and I acted, but I was really, really good at the coursework aspect. Yeah. So I knew from deep down that I'm very good admin side. So every job I've had, I found I'm really good at getting things done.
Yeah.
What I've always found in every job I go into, because you do handovers, you learn how somebody else did something or how a department does something or how an organization does something. And I was always a person going, could we just change this or move this or try this and do this new system? I was always fighting against the IT teams to be like, can we use this new software or can we install this new thing? Obviously, that never happened, especially for big organizations.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was always part of me anyway. So when I first started my business as a virtual assistants tend to be very task-oriented and you come into people's businesses and basically you're told what to do, which is absolutely fine. That's the point of that business. But knowing me, I was like, couldn't we just try this or do this and move this here and skip this step? So as I quite naturally moved into being an online business manager, I really brought that to the forefront of the work that I do. So a lot of times now when I do work with clients, it is looking behind the scenes or under the hood, as you put it, to be like, right, okay, how can we make everything better, more streamlined, work together so they're able to scale? Because I think a lot of businesses, by the time they get to me, have already been in business for a while. They already know who their target audience is. They're doing really well with revenue, but they just can't quite get to that next piece. And usually it's because they don't have systems in place to allow them to step back and focus on their genius zone to allow that extra impact.
Yeah, amazing. And it's so interesting. I held a business breakfast last month and we had a panel of business owners, and the questions they kept getting asked were around, how do you step out of the day-to-day of your business? How did you scale? How did you grow? And a lot of those business owners came back to that, systemizing and having your systems and processes in place and almost, doing that sooner rather than later to be able to make those steps and grow a business without it just consuming you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so many business owners, particularly ones that, you hear the word systems or processes or SOPs and, their eyes glaze over because it's not their zone of genius, or they find it boring, which is totally fine because, it means I get business and I get clients. But you don't have to overcomplicate it and you don't have to do what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Because even if you're looking to scale, it doesn't mean you have to go for the brand new software that's just come out or do what your best friend does because they're in a similar business to you. It's finding what works for you. And sometimes that does mean a lot of moving parts, or sometimes that does mean using a system that's brand new or using a system that doesn't make sense to everyone else. And obviously, I think when we use the word systems and processes, it's breaking it down into, it's basically the things that you have to use to allow your business to run.
Yeah.
And writing up a process so anybody can come into your business and jump on board. A lot of us have had jobs where you're trained. It's exactly the same thing, but without less effort from you having to be like, okay, sit in my chair and do this and do this and do this over and over again.
Yeah. Amazing. I can't wait to dive in and talk more about this. But before we do that, I'd love to fast fire you some questions. So tell me about your favorite book.
So when it comes to business
Yeah.
books and entrepreneurial stories, I have quite a lot. I don't know if you can see the bookshelf behind me. There's a selection there. So one that really stood out for me is Time Magic by Melissa Ambrosini and Nick Broadhurst. Because it's just such a beautiful book when you look at it, like it's white and it's crisp and it's gold. But it was one of those that when you're reading it, you keep stopping to action something. And like halfway through the book, I had completely changed that way I was running parts of my business.
Wow.
And I downloaded apps and I set up new ways to do things because it totally spoke to me and I related to what they were trying to do in terms of claiming back time.
Yeah.
So that anyone who wants to basically be a bit more savvy with their productivity or their time management, I definitely recommend that one. And my other favorite at the moment is We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers.
Yeah.
I find it very inspiring, very tangible things in there. And also, my boyfriend thinks I'm a bit crazy, but I insist that I'm going to be a millionaire.
Oh.
I don't know how I'll get there. I don't know when it will happen, but I'm so believing in that.
Yeah.
So when I saw the title for that particular book, I was like, right, okay, cool. Teach me all the things. And everyone I know who've read it has been like, wow, it's so just relatable and interesting. And I love her story. So that's a good one. And yeah, let's all become millionaires. Let's do it.
And that's fantastic. I think, in terms of manifestation, like having that belief for yourself, like that's part of it, right? So I look forward to watching you become a millionaire.
Absolutely. And you too.
Thank you. What's your favorite follow? So on LinkedIn or TikTok or, one of the socials, what do you love the most?
So I tend to change this every day because the way the cookies work, obviously, things are thrown at you constantly. And TikTok, I'm still quite new to. And I think I mess up my cookies sometimes by focusing too much on something. Like I was obsessed with getting a Japanese head spa. So then that was all I was getting. And I was like, oh God, I have to look at other things now. So I'm kind of avoiding TikTok at the moment. But it's
hard
great
to get out of the rabbit holes you find yourself into. You're like, I only look deeply at that, like out of curiosity. I'm not that interested.
Absolutely. But it's really great when it's like, oh, I need to find a new restaurant in Melbourne. And then I just get all of this. So I'm like, in a way, it's almost like my little crystal ball of like, what do I need right now? And then TikTok will find it for me. It's creepy, but brilliant. So TikTok, not great. That is rabbit hole. So I definitely stay off that. But with Instagram, what I do like to find is I have a collective few people that I follow a lot and I always want to go to their stories and learn.
Yeah.
And usually that's coaches that I'm working with or people in the personal development space that I just learn so much from. So a shout out to Complete by Caitlin, who's a shadow work coach who just shares massive truth bombs. Wow. Michelle Panning, who's an embodiment and relationship business mentor and coach. And she is just so spicy and awesome. And again, shares things that make you kind of go, oh, I feel seen. I feel triggered. Fantastic. And also my coach, Erica Kramer, the Queen of Confidence.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I'm in her sisterhood community. I've been in there for 3 and a bit years now.
Wow.
And even though like I know everything about her and I'm in her space, I still go on her stories because what is she has achieved in her business in the past 5-6 years is unbelievable. And I've watched her grow as a client and personally, and it's just very inspiring to me.
Yeah, she's amazing. She has an amazing energy. I think a really authentic energy and obviously like a generosity in what she shares as well. So yeah, she seems, she's a great follow.
Yes, she is. Yes.
And then I guess what gets you out of bed each day besides, the pathway to being a millionaire? What's your big motivator?
So for me, although it's been hard quite recently because it's winter and it's cold, I know a lot of people say they start their own business, to make their own schedule, make their own rules, but I've really eased into that recently in terms of I've been putting expectations on myself to get up at 6 and I have to do this client work or I have to do my meditation or I have to do make myself so rigid. And I realize it's a hangover from being in one of my past relationships where my partner was very much like wanted to get everything done so then we could relax.
No, yes.
And it's such a learned behavior that I'm like, well, actually I could just relax at 11 and then start work again. Yeah. So I've been shifting around a lot. So every day I wake up and I'm like, how do I want today to work? Obviously we have set things like meetings and things like that.
Yeah.
But this every day for the past 2 weeks, I've been playing around with, actually, I might get up at this time. I might start with this, or I might have breakfast first.
Yeah.
So every day is kind of like an experiment and playtime for me to figure out what every day is going to look like.
I love that.
And I'm hoping that I find something a bit more flowy, but then realizing that I don't have to have a set schedule because, especially because we're women, we have cycles and all those things.
Yeah.
That I'm like, every day I wake up going, oh, I wonder what today is going to be like and where I'm going to find my energy. And I'm recording it to try and figure out what things will light me up. And I know I work best in the morning for work. So I definitely make sure I eat the frog, so to speak, in the morning, do the hardest thing.
Yes.
Because it might get to 2 or 3 o'clock and I'm like, yeah, I'm out.
I'm a big believer in eating the frog because I love to put off the hard thing as long as possible. So I'm always challenging myself, like, get it out of the way, just do it and move on. But I think that's great. I think it's nice to play with that because, you know, we go into business for flexibility and to be our own boss and, you know, wanting something different. And I think, unfortunately, depending on, you know, what your approach is, you can fall into that trap. I mean, I'm a classic. I've always been like a classic employee of my own business. Like, I can't help it. It's like an addiction. Like, I must start the day at 9 a.m., you know. So even when I started the business and I had like practically like a newborn baby, I'd still be showered and dressed and at my desk at 9 a.m. working. But I think for me, something about that routine is comfortable. You know, it doesn't bother me. But it is just interesting. Like, you know, sometimes I'll say to friends like, oh, I'd love to come to that lunch, but my boss, she's horrible. Like, she won't let me come out at lunchtime. Like, it's like I have to remind myself, like, it is my business. I make the rules. I don't have to, you know, prescribe, but it's I guess it's habits and you know, it's like your own systems, isn't it?
Yeah. And if it works for you, I think that's absolutely fine. Like, you know, I mean, I do tend to work 9 to 5, but it might be like I have a bath at 2 o'clock.
I love that.
Rather than do it at nighttime. And I'm like, oh, can I do this? I can. Awesome.
Yes.
Just test the waters a little bit, see what I can push with my own puppets.
Yeah, it's so true. I think I got that way about like even dressing, you know, sometimes you felt, oh, I've got to, again, when you've been corporate, like I did 15 years in corporate. And so, you know, you do have that thing of, oh, I have to meet these norms. And then you're like, actually, I can wear whatever I want to that meeting because it's my business.
Exactly.
So let's jump in. Tell me, I guess, from your point of view, you know, how systems can help a business owner. What are some of those benefits that great systems bring?
So the biggest benefit of a good system in your business is less hands-on for you, less having to spend your day doing things that don't light you up or aren't your area of genius. And a good system would do something like you're asleep and a sales come through and you didn't have to do anything. I mean, who doesn't want to wake up to an email saying you've been paid? It's fantastic. So I always look at systems as like a virtual assistant in your business that isn't a real person. Obviously, we have AI and things now, but what I mean is the way that you set it up so it can just run your business for you while you're asleep, while you're having a bath, while you've gone out to lunch with your friends. And if you set it up correctly, it should only need oiling, so to speak, or tinkering with when you need to change it for a new offer or a new product, or say something's been updated. It doesn't need constant attention, attention from you being given to it. And also for some people, if you set it up correctly, you then don't need to outsource straight away. And obviously I believe in outsourcing. Definitely. You do need people in your business to support you. But as a business owner, if you can learn everything about your business, even if it doesn't inspire you or light you up, it means that when you do set up your systems and bring other people in, you've got the best knowledge base for that person. And if you understand the system and you could create that SOP or that how to use it, you can then on board again without having to take up so much of your time because that person comes in and runs that system for you. And I think when I look at systems, there's so many different ways you can have them in your business as well, because all of us have the marketing side, we have the finance side, we have the admin side, that it might be you have to set up different systems for different areas of your business. But you can get them to speak to each other, or you can set them up so they aren't that complicated. I think, it's almost like I hate the word systems and processes. And I say them a lot and I'm like, oh God, this sounds so boring. And I think that's why people just don't want to do it. Like SOP, I mean, how boring does that sound? Standard operating procedure. It's almost like I've gone so out of corporate. I'm like, how do we make it sound cool? But at the same time, people have to understand it. But systems, the idea of system is to give you time back in your zone of genius and let your business run without you having to be there 24/7.
Yeah, beautiful. Um, I think a lot of people hear systems and they worry it's going to be complicated. Obviously, mapping out the systems and processes takes a while. It's a future, your future self will thank you type thing. But when it comes to systems, I guess, what's your take on software and, how it should support those systems that are in place?
Yeah, I think the biggest overwhelm does come from the fact that there's so many different options out there. So a lot of people, I'll see them in Facebook groups, for example, jump out and say, I need to do this, this, and this, recommend. And then everyone just jumps in with their favorite platform.
Yeah.
Or maybe, oh, use this one because I get an affiliate payment, which is fine. We all do it a little bit. But because they don't really know the client, or the client sometimes doesn't really know what they want it for, they just list things.
Yeah.
That can actually be harmful, because that person will go, cool, I've heard this word Kajabi, I've heard this word.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's email marketing, for example, and they say, I hear the word floor desk, and they go, cool, someone said that, I'll use it.
Yeah.
That's why I really believe, even if you are struggling for money or you don't really want to outsource, it's really good to get someone in from the get-go who understands business and systems, such as a business consultant or an OBM or someone like that, to look at your business and see where you need that support. Because just because something's fancy and does all the things. So let's use Kajabi, for example, where you could have your products, you can have your email marketing, you can have your landing pages, you have your website, you have your podcast, there's so many things. It's fantastic. But if you're brand new to business, it's very expensive.
Yeah, totally.
You're not going to use all those features. And if you decide to move, you then have to take all of that and move it to a different platform, which in itself is quite painful.
Yeah.
So I always think, like, what is the bare minimum you can get away with to start with? Because bear in mind as well that if you want to scale, you are going to outgrow systems or realize that the one you already had no longer fits. And it is so painful to move across to things where if you start with smaller things, it's easier. So I always say, if you're brand new to business, you could start your accountancy or your finances or even your CRM to manage clients with an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It doesn't need to be complicated. Yeah. And then, if you want to book in discovery calls, all right, cool. Get Calendly. There's one option for free. Set that up. So you can start really basically and monitor it that way. And then as you grow and scale in your business, you can look at, right, okay, what else works and what else suits me? Because as well, say for email marketing, for example, which I do recommend everyone build your list as soon as you can, because Instagram does not belong to you. And if you lose your followers, so email marketing, a lot of people go, which one should I use? And again, it'll depend on what you want to use it for and how many leads you have. So everyone goes, oh, use MailChimp because it's free to start with. Fantastic, yes. But MailChimp's not very intuitive for people. And also, as soon as your list gets to a certain size, it costs money to move over.
Yeah.
And obviously, email migration is something I can do quite easily because that's one of the things I expert in.
Yeah.
But for the people, it's like, oh God, how on earth do I do that?
Yeah.
So it's almost like even email marketing software that costs a little bit of money, it's worth setting up from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because something like ActiveCampaign is a beast. Oh, it can do so many amazing things when it comes to email marketing, but it might be too much for someone to learn when they first come to business.
Yeah.
But if you really believe you're going to scale or have lots of different products, or really want to follow your customer journey and segment and all those things, maybe it's worth starting there and learning it as you go rather than moving across. And then you have all the functionality to begin with. But because that is quite confusing and there's so much out there, yes, ask for recommendations, but also bear in mind that people have their own agenda when they suggest them, and they're not trying to be harmful or anything like that. But people like go, oh, well, I use Flowdesk, I'll say Flowdesk. I use Kajabi, I'll say Kajabi, but don't really know other ones out there. And part of my role is always to be like, seeing what else is coming out. Can I learn the features? So, for example, in my business, I use Dubsado for my CRM.
Yeah.
And I've set it up. It's quite complicated. So people who've never used it, I am a bit like, cool, but I would definitely work with an expert to build that so you can learn. But then Moxie's just come out, and I know a lot of my fellow OBMs and people in the virtual assistant space have moved over, and it looks phenomenal. And I've gone, do I jump to the shiny new object? Do I wait? Do I need to move to it? So even in my own business, I'm going, but everyone's saying it's good. Everyone's raving about it. It must be better.
Yeah.
But then for my business right now, I don't need to move. So rather than just follow that and jump on board, I'm going to stay and I'm going to basically monitor it and see if I need to for my business in the future. So it's also the stage you're at, and also you can move whenever you want. It's just sometimes a bit of a pain.
Yeah, totally. But I think that inside of kind of like having a plan for how you'll grow is really important as well. And I think like HubSpot has a really great free starting feature, but it gets so expensive so quickly. And I mean, obviously it's their sales strategy, so a lot of people start there and then it's kind of like, oh, you want to do this. Well, now it's $800 a month and then it's not possible. And then they're maxed out at the beginning. And I think it's kind of like being able to see the whole picture of it to go, okay, it's free now, but when will that be up to? How long do I think before I'll hit that? What should I do? And again, working with somebody that can see more systems than just one, because my recommendation that Kajabi is amazing doesn't really mean much if I've only ever used Kajabi and don't have anything else to compare it to. So I think that's really good advice.
Yeah. And sometimes, we do get a bit stuck when it comes to like financial software, for example, like Xero is pretty much what everybody uses.
Yeah.
And just before this podcast, they've emailed me to let me know, oh, the prices are going up.
I got that email too.
Oh, like, okay, I get it. I know you have to eventually, but it's like, but we don't really have any. We do have other options, but not that many. So you kind of like, well, some of them you kind of have to just pay it, so to speak, because it's what everybody uses.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I just got that email before too. I was like, oh, Jesus is really starting to, get up there. But it's, and then I guess it's the price of migration, the price of changing your systems. I guess that's all those services that kind of push to see what the tolerance is before people will, find an easier option. So I guess, that process of streamlining systems or, in some ways creating them at all, it does feel overwhelming for a lot of people. What are your top tips for business owners looking to either, kick off with systems or streamline systems that they have in place? How do you sort of suggest they approach that?
I think for people who are starting out with systems, really do take some time, even like get a big piece of paper or whatever works for you and write down how your business works in terms of like, right, I'm your ideal customer. How am I finding you? And then my journey through your business. So if, for example, I find you on Instagram and your Instagram bio, is there a link to book a call with you? If I book a call with you, what system does it go to? Is there a reminder email? Like you have to get so minute with the detail. And if someone books a call with you, is there reminder emails? And then is there a Zoom link attached? Do you need to get Zoom? Or are you just going to do Google Meet, which is free, which is actually a really good option?
Yeah.
Because even that, like, how do you get on the call? What software are you using for that as a decision? And then if we had a great call together, then what is it? Did they send a proposal? Do they book somewhere? So you have to really think about the way they go through business, write down every single step. And then within those steps, be like, all right, cool. This seems like one area. So maybe there's a bringing leads in, for example, so Instagram, but like, are you going to use Instagram? You're going to use Facebook, set those up and those are free, for example. Then there's kind of the onboarding, the discovery call, the emails back and forth. Do you send a proposal? Then contracts, because contracts have to live somewhere, for example, and you're going to use software for that, which is another thing. There are some free options out there, but eventually you'll have to start paying for that. So say, right, fantastic, they've onboarded with you. Do they get a product? Where's the product going to live? Or do they get regular calls? Are they going to go out by email? If they're going to go by email, are you going to use email marketing system or your own personal email, like a work email that you've gotten permission to email? And then when you're working together, what other things are going to come up? And then if you're going to offboard them, all right, cool. Like say we want a testimonial, you're going to collect that by like say a Google form, or is it just going to be an email? Or so it does sound like a lot, but just sit there and write out your customer journey. And even if you just get the first part, let's start bringing in those leads and having somewhere for them to go. That's a really good place to start in terms of maybe it's just a free Instagram account. You can get a free Canva account to start creating your posts, for example. You go on Calendly, you can get one free option to book in a discovery call or however you do it. And then that's it. Yeah. In terms of they book in a call and then you get on. And Zoom, it's free for up to 40 minutes unless that's changed. I don't know. They keep changing the thing.
I think
or
it
Google
still
Meet.
is. Yeah.
If you have Google Meet, you have your Google account, you can do Google Meet. It's free and you can just put the deals in there. Yeah. So that's how I would start with it. And then you can build and grow as you go on in terms of buying more paid stuff. So you can do more reminders and more automations behind it. Yeah. And then if you are already quite established in business and you're looking to scale, I think it'll be a case of actually looking at the subscriptions you have, because I've worked with so many clients and they've sent me their logins. And I've been, this is 4 pages long. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if we use all of them anymore. Like, wow. Let's do an audit to start with. Yeah. And that's the thing. Sometimes even I've looked at my subscriptions and gone, oh my God, I still have that. I don't know how I even use that. Yeah, totally. So I'd definitely start with where are you spending money and where are you actually using stuff?
Yeah.
And if, for example, you are using Kajabi, but you're not getting your money's worth, well, maybe we should move you to another platform, which sounds like a pain, but it's
Yeah.
like maybe it's not working for your business anymore. So write down what you are using, go through any that you think you don't need anymore, or where you can maybe bring some together, or look for cheaper options. Sometimes it's a downgrade, for example. And if you've got like a Zapier account, which is a way to, if anyone hasn't used it, they're called Zaps. So you get different programs or different tasks and you make them speak to each other.
Yeah.
For example, someone books a call and then a Zap might send an email. But some people have it and they have so many Zaps turned on that are broken or they don't need on anymore. And then they're paying money for it and they're not actually using it. And it might have changed, but it was 5 free Zaps, for example. So you can play around and use that for free and then see if you want to spend money on it. So yeah, go through, tidy up, so to speak, on a piece of paper. And then it's working out, right, okay, if I'm going to scale, what's going to support me best? And maybe it's a case of you need to put more automations in place or you need to actually delegate by bringing someone else in.
Yeah.
And it might be that you currently don't have a software you need to bring in. A lot of people might not have a social media planner, for example. You know, they want to buy Plan or Plannerly or whatever it is out at that time. And it's actually worth the investment to, let's get my content scheduled in a month in advance, for example, particularly if you've got a launch going on.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to know where to put in your systems if you're not quite sure, which again, I would say maybe speak to a professional like myself to actually have a look at your business from an outside point of view, but also a bird's eye point of view. Because I think so many people are in their business and they don't see the gaps.
Yeah.
But it's just chipping away at it. But sometimes I think what scares people is I might add more to it because they think like, oh, that's too many platforms. But sometimes people need that depending on the needs for their business. And you shouldn't be scared of it because there are ways to automate or set up apps so they speak to each other.
Yeah.
And as you're doing this, if you haven't already, it's a great time to be like, here's a how-to.
Yeah.
So my biggest tip for writing your SOPs or your how-tos is you're going to be doing it anyway. So record yourself while you're doing it. Get on Zoom or get on Loom. Loom is another one where you can make videos.
I like
You
Loom.
can have up to 25 videos of 5 minutes long for free, which is a fantastic tool. And do that. And then you have AI, which literally will transcribe for you. And then you just put that into a Word document, for example, and then have that somewhere. So they don't have to be so scary. So next time you're doing a task, just film it and then transcribe it and be like, cool. And then you can tidy it up later on and have them in one place, maybe with headings of marketing, admin, finance. And they seem like a lot because you probably have a lot of processes to document, but just start. Maybe it's one a day. Set aside a day and just do all your tasks and film them, because the sooner you do it, the easier it is to onboard someone. Also, like if you forget something, you can go back in a review. And then if you do change your systems, you have to update those processes. Do not forget. Otherwise, then people cannot be onboarded as easily and your stuff is out of date.
Yeah. Which is, it's almost like, I know when we did our processes, having a process to check the processes.
Exactly. Yes. Like have a reminder, even if it's like once a year, go in and be like, okay, cool. Let's check that these are all up to date. And if something changes, like, and change it immediately. Do not put it on a to-do list because you will forget. Just do it immediately, open up and change that section.
Exactly. I think, you know, so many great points in there, and I'm someone that's been through it. Ours aren't perfect. And then obviously compliance to systems and processes is a whole other thing. But I think, you know, I'm also a big believer in like cost benefit analysis of systems. Like if you're like Zaps, for example, yes, they can be costly, but if every time that person is emailing or, you know, booking Calendly, you're manually going and then typing that into your CRM, you know, because it doesn't talk to each other, and then you're manually triggering something else. If it costs you, you know, $2 per person for all those things to happen, is that not worth more than your time? So, you know, that I love kind of looking at that cost benefit of, you know, how long is this taking us without software? What is the cost saving of time? You know, because time has value. And, you know, if we can save time by using a software, then, you know, perhaps that is the better investment than us physically being overloaded with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get hung up on subscription costs, and it's like, but imagine if you are a coach and you charge $250 an hour for a mentoring session.
Yeah.
But you do 3 hours of admin a week.
I know.
And, you know, as Zapier subscription or a Flowdesk subscription would be $10 a week or something. Seriously? Like, but I think you might almost get that in a spreadsheet and think, well, actually, how much is my time worth and how much? I would definitely. Again, another free software for you. It's called Toggl, Toggl, is how I track my hours for clients. It's a free option. It's fantastic. Put that on when you're doing your admin.
Yeah.
Put that on and you'll be absolutely shocked because
Oh,
I
you'll
don't
be
think people
destroyed.
realize how much time
Destroyed.
you in your DMs on Instagram, or you just respond
Yeah.
that email, or you wake up
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I have to, as so many coaches, well, how do I find the link, or how do I find my password, and how do I log in this? And they have to answer it. If you get a frequently asked question, you need a process for it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I think you're right. I think mapping it out to begin with, solving it, and then looking to continually improve it. It's fantastic. Obviously, you are a gal that knows all about software and what's hot and all those sorts of things. How can people connect to you after listening to this today?
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and my handle is Cat Louise Dunn across everything.
Yeah.
And you can also find me on my website, which is catlouisedunn.com. And yeah, send me a DM or a message if you have any questions about systems. I'm more than happy to answer.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. As I said, you've shared so much value, and I think it's so important, and often neglected, but thinking about systems, getting them in place and getting that support to get them in place properly, I think is so important as well. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode. If you don't want to miss one, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app. And if you love it, be sure to share it with friends and colleagues who you think could benefit from increasing their digital marketing confidence. Want more? Head to marianneamies.com to find out how you can work with me directly, to reach out to have me speak at your event, or to grab yourself some free resources.